A cryptocurrency is a digital asset that is built on a decentralized and distributed network which is secured by cryptography. Now, the idea of digital assets or digital means of payment had been around for quite some time. In fact, it had been very popular in the 80s and 90s in the so-called cypherpunk community, but it was only with Bitcoin that this idea became reality. Bitcoin was conceived in 2008, and the first block of Bitcoin was mined in January 2009 by the anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto. No one knows who this was. It could have been a man, a woman, or a group of people. But what we do know is that the first block was mined in January 2009 and that it included a news headline which served mainly as a timestamp to show when it was mined. And this headline read, "The Times, 3rd of January 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks." Now, given the particular headline that was chosen, it's safe to say that its only purpose wasn't just to be a timestamp, but also to show the fragility and the precariousness of the global financial system. And of course, to present Bitcoin as an alternative to that system. Now, this process of mining is precisely the main innovation of Bitcoin. It is, in fact, the innovation that set it apart from all the previous ideas of a distributed digital means of payment, and that allowed it to actually become a reality. Mining refers to the consensus algorithm, so the way that all the network participants can agree on the state of the network. Now, broadly speaking, in crypto as a whole, there are two main types of consensus algorithms, so of achieving this synchronization, or rather agreement. These two are proof of work and proof of stake. Proof of work is the first, and it is the type that is used by Bitcoin as well as many other, mostly older blockchains such as Litecoin. And it includes a very tedious cryptographic process whereby, in order to confirm a new block, to add a new block to the blockchain, a network participant, that is a miner, needs to solve a very complex cryptographic problem. This is, of course, done by means of very sophisticated computers. In the first years of Bitcoin, this was possible with simple household CPUs and GPUs, but then later it became almost exclusively a domain of specialized ASICs, so application-specific integrated circuits. In any case, what is common to all proof-of-work systems is that they add very difficult cryptographic problems that need to be solved by sophisticated computers, and it is only by solving these that a new block can be added to the blockchain. Of course, the participant that solves this earns what is called a block reward. This is a reward that is issued in each block. Now, with Bitcoin, this reward was originally 50 Bitcoin per block, but it is halved roughly every 4 years. This is the famous halving in the crypto space. Now, the reason that adding new blocks requires solving some very difficult cryptographic problems is precisely to prevent the network from being overrun by spammers. So essentially, if adding new blocks, or at least proposing them, were very easy, then anyone could do so, and anyone could just continuously spam the network with blocks that aren't completely valid, or rather don't contain the right transactions, and they would have no cost for doing so. They could just keep spamming the network without losing any resources. Whereas with the proof of work, this becomes very costly, because in order to propose a new block, someone needs to commit a lot of resources to solving these cryptographic problems. In effect, this means, on the one hand, owning the appropriate mining equipment, and on the other hand, of course, using a lot of electricity to do this. So in this way, everyone is incentivized to only propose legitimate transactions, legitimate blocks to the blockchain. Still, this method does have some controversial and possible drawbacks, most importantly its environmental impact. Bitcoin mining uses a lot of electricity, which has led to criticism from certain environmental activists, although a lot of this energy comes from renewable sources. Regardless, this is one of the main reasons that motivated a different type of consensus algorithm, namely proof of stake. Proof of stake removes this complicated cryptographic process of solving very difficult equations, essentially, with one's computer from the process. With proof of stake, the process of proposing new blocks is made extremely simple in computational terms. But there is still a specific process that prevents spammers from trying to overrun the network. Briefly put, in proof of stake, in order to validate blocks and to propose blocks, what a network participant needs to do is to stake or lock a certain amount of the blockchain's native coin. The best example of this is Ethereum 2.0, so the next version of Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is, of course, still at the time of recording at least a proof of work cryptocurrency, but it is transitioning to proof of stake. So the way it works is that someone needs to lock up or stake, in the case of Ethereum, 32 Ether, and then they have the right to validate and propose blocks. If a network participant does this and then acts maliciously, so if they propose illegitimate blocks, their stake will be slashed, meaning that they will lose part or all of their 32 Ether. Now, since this is of course a hefty sum, any illegitimate or malicious actions are heavily disincentivized and are of course punished severely. In effect, this has a similar result as proof of work in the sense that everyone is incentivized to only propose legitimate blocks.